Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am Kylie and I am an online ESL tutor for Cambly Kids. I was a teaching assistant in schools for 7 years, and then last year I transitioned online like a lot of things have been doing, and this week I reached my 6-month milestone working for Cambly. So today I thought I would share my income because people don't often talk about income. Some people think that it's kind of a secret about what you earn and what you can't earn, but in all honesty, I find it quite helpful to know, especially in this type of work. When you normally go for a proper job, you will be given like a salary or an hourly rate and then set hours a week, so you're kind of guaranteed what you're going to get. But in this type of job where it's very up and down, nothing's really guaranteed, it's hard to know exactly what you're going to get, and when you sign up you don't really know what you're going to earn as such, because on Cambly it says what you get per the minute, but how many minutes are you going to be teaching? So I will be sharing what I've earned and roughly what I get in a week, and hopefully that will give you an idea on what you can earn working for Cambly Kids. So there are several different things which can change how much you potentially would earn. I work very hard to keep my regulars regular and a schedule that is consistent, and I find for me that works the best. I open for a set amount of hours every day for a whole week. I take Saturdays and Sundays off, so I'm Monday to Friday, and when people book me, they usually book a slot and they'll book that same slot and that same time every single week for like the long haul. It's like they like to have their set time. So if you tend to maybe only open for a couple of hours here and there and it's not very consistent, the chances are you might not get many regulars. That's part of it. It also depends on your when you're open. Like the time zones I tend to work in is peak times for this part of the world, like the Hong Kong, Korea, Taiwan, that kind of area. That's their peak evening times is when I do my hours, which is morning to early afternoon in the UK. If you work later, you're likely to hit more like the Middle Eastern evenings, which would be their peak time. So depending on when you open depends on what type of student you're going to get and when. You also hear a lot of people say things like in this job you can pick and choose what students you want, which to an extent I don't agree with. It's like I spent 7 years working in a school and you can't pick your class. If you get a challenging kid, you can't say you're not going to teach them. It's like you have them all day long, all week long. It's like, and for a whole year. It's like you can't just pick and choose and say, I'm not going to teach that kid. But a lot of people view it as when we can kind of pick and choose, they think it's kind of their right. But then that's also going to restrict maybe your schedule, because if you're starting to be like, I don't want them, they might be a regular, they might turn up quite frequently, they might be challenging in the start, and then after a few months they could be one of your best students. But I think a lot of people are quick to kind of just be like, no, don't want them. I understand if it's someone that is unreliable timekeeping, because going back to how we get paid, it's quite a big factor. If they don't turn up, you're not going to get paid. So it's quite a good thing to have people that are reliable. So that's kind of the only area where I get a little bit like, is if they're not going to be very reliable, because you could potentially lose a lot from having reliable students or non-reliable students in your timetable. So if I've got my trusty iPad here, so as I said, I've been working for 6 months on Cambly, and if you have a look at this week, I'm not going to get too in detail because I don't want to show you too much, but as you can kind of see, all them darker squares are all my lessons for next week. The following week looks similar. So a lot of the time I am fully booked with my students. Like I said, some of them I've had right from the very, very start and they're still regulars now. But That is a full up schedule. I do 6 hours a day, and out of those 6 hours a day, Monday to Friday, I will roughly work for ones that turn up for about 27 hours. So I lose about 3 hours a week of pay, which is the equivalent of about 6 lessons. So when you get paid by the minute, it also varies on how long your lesson lasts for. Like I try to do, if they all turn up on time, I try to teach for the exact 30-minute time slot, so I get paid the 30 minutes. But if one turns up 5 minutes late and the next one rings in, then you then lose 5 minutes of pay. Or if they come up 10 minutes late, you lose 10 minutes of pay. So you only get paid for what you teach. You then get ones where if they cancel last minute, your slot is then empty and you get nothing for that time slot at all if it then doesn't get filled. Then if somebody no shows, you only get paid $2 out of that time slot. So where normally a 30-minute slot, if you worked every single minute in that 30 minutes, you would get $6. If somebody doesn't turn up, you then only get 2. So you've then potentially lost 20 minutes of pay. So going back to what I've earned, in total, to give you some stats of what I've done, if my iPad is going to respond to me, there we go. I've done 1,299 chats and I've met 125 students. So by those figures, you can kind of tell that for every student, I kind of have, there's a very small amount of students compared to the amount of chat. So I do have a lot of regulars. That is 29,163 minutes of talk time, which is then obviously what I've been paid. I've been paid for 29,163 minutes. And adding on what I've earned from this week, in the 6 months I've been working for them, I've earned around $6,100. We get paid in dollars. You then kind of lose a bit when it gets transferred into pounds, especially now the exchange rate's not great. So when you turn it into pounds, you do end up losing a little bit of money. It works out that we are on roughly just over £8 an hour, which is less than the UK minimum wage, which does suck. This is also before tax. So if you do obviously have to pay tax, you're going to lose some more. So you're going to get paid even less. But the way I think of it is I don't have to commute anywhere, so I'm not paying for fuel or transport costs in that way. I do just work from home, which is great. But yes, so looking back through my payment history, I said it's just over $6,000. But if you split that into 6 months, that's about $1,000 a month. But when I first started, my schedule wasn't full. So the first few weeks of like August, when I first started, I earned roughly about $500 in the first month of working on Cambly. So that's obviously a lot less than kind of what I'm on now. I earn about 60% more than that if I've got my maths right. I'm an English teacher, not a maths teacher. So that is a little bit lower. I used to open at 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. I now do 8 until 2:30. So I open for a little bit extra every day. Like I said, my schedule wasn't full that first month. It took about 5 to 6 weeks for those initial time slots to get filled that I had. Then in September, I started averaging around $210 a week. So in a month, I got just over 850-ish for the month. Then October, I upped my hours, one more extra time slot a day. So I was doing 9 until 2:30 rather than 9 until 2. And I started getting more like $245 a week. Around November, I then opened up another half an hour slot a day, and then I was averaging about $270 a week. And now I do the solid 6 hours, which is 8 until 2:30 with a half an hour break, and I have been hitting $300 a week for the last 3 or 4 weeks. I've been getting $310-ish a week from those things. So like I said, if you're planning your hours, you kind of have to factor into the no-shows and things like that. So I kept setting myself what I wanted to earn roughly. So I had I wanted to be getting 250, and then when I upped it, I thought, no, I want 300 now. So my aim is to get $300 a week is what my aim is. This isn't my only income. I do get a little bit extra from my blogging and some other little income streams, but this is the main source of income for me. So I like to try and get at least $300 a week. And like I said, it's you kind of have to open more slots than what you kind of want. It's good if they then all turn up, because then you then get more money. But if you want to be hitting, say, that 300 threshold, then you have to open more hours to factor in for the ones that then cancel. So that $300 is like I said, is roughly about 27 hours of teaching. I did find that I had to kind of gradually increase my hours. So when I first started, I was kind of exhausted, and then it's like I would open a little bit more, kind of get used to doing that amount, and then I'd open for a little bit longer. And what I do now, I think is my limit. I think it is my limit. I do 6 back to back. I have a 30-minute break, and then I do another 6 back to back. Sometimes if one cancels, like one of my regulars cancel, I might open them up an extra slot in the afternoon, like the 2:30 until 3 slot. Again, that's my control. I can choose when I want to do that. Like I can offer it to them. There's one in a couple of weeks' time that had to cancel, and I offered them the Saturday morning. I rarely give my Saturday morning, so it's like you have to be very regular and reliable, and for me to offer you my Saturday morning, because if you don't turn up, then it makes me mad, because I like to have my day off. So yeah, it's like you do kind of have the option to open up extra when you want, but like I said, it is good to have a set schedule. I fill up about 8 weeks in advance. I keep my regulars happy by opening up to them first, and then I open up to the rest of Cambly Kids to let them fill the slots if I need some extra holes filled up. But you do find it is sad, because then sometimes you'll get somebody who will fill that slot and they'll really like you and you really like them, but then because I book out so far in advance, they're then like, I can't find any more slots, and it's like, I know, I'm full, I can't do anything. Like I said, it's like my time zones are here, and if those, say, particular peak 4 hours are filled up with kids, I can't physically do any more kids during that time. It's like a lot of them, if they're like, say, the young ones, they're not going to have the later slots because they've got to go to bed. So it is hard if you then get like kind of an influx of people that you like. But yeah, that's a rough idea of how much I earn. Like I said, there are several different factors you need to take into account, and it does vary on how nice you are. like I said, I work very hard to keep my regulars regular. I am in contact with the parents all the time. I like to, help them out and do my best. It's like I put everything into this job. I don't have a degree. I probably should have said that at the start. So I was limited to the companies that I could choose. There are some online schooling, tutoring ones that offer a lot more than what Cambly do, but I only have the experience. I don't have the written degree, which is annoying because I know I'm good at my job. But yeah, so I don't have that option to teach for the higher platforms because I don't have the degree. And some of them, though, there is one, I'm not going to mention names, but people have said that you have to, a lot of the time they'll chuck new people, like trial students, and the idea is you have to convert them, and if you don't convert them, you're then kind of off their hot list and you might not get your schedule filled. Where I've found like constantly my schedule has been filled. You don't necessarily have to convert trials. A couple of them I've had trial students that I've converted, and that's great. But for the most part, anyone can book you, anyone can go down the list, they can search you by name, by nationality, blah, 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 and then they can pick you. And for the most part, I found that my schedule does stay full, which is very good. But yeah, it's important to work hard on it. But then we obviously don't get paid for any extras that we do. So I tend to spend maybe an extra an hour and a half to 2 hours a week, maybe, of my own time where I don't get paid. I write down my schedule every night, like the day before, and I will spend about 10 minutes just seeing what lessons I have the next day. And then I'll sometimes be flicking around like on my phone and finding new websites that I can share as extra activities. And another thing is, if you also don't work, you don't get paid. Where sometimes, like obviously if you're on salary based, you might get 4 weeks paid holiday and you get that pay. Here, if you take a week off, you don't get paid. So it's like you work for the minutes that you work. It's like you get paid for those minutes. If you take a day off, you're going to have less. Like there was a week over Christmas, it was about $50 less because I took a couple of days off. So yeah, I should probably have said that as well. I've only had like 3 days off in those 6 months. Other than my Saturdays and Sundays, from my normal 5-day-a-week pattern, I've only had 3 days off. I had Christmas Day, New Year's Day, and a bank holiday in September. They're the only days that I've had where I've not worked. So yeah, hope that helps. If you like that, subscribe. Feel free to message me if you have any questions. I'll leave my affiliate link in the comments as well if you want to be a tutor for Cambly Kids. Always happy to help if you have any questions. Have a great day, and I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.